All right, so I ran out of space on my extension that I use called Screencastify. So it was cutting me off right at the end of number 8. Number 8 ended up being negative I, negative 1 times I. So I'll just do a part 1 and a part 2 to this video. I'm almost done. Just 2 more problems after this. Okay, I'm going to start over on number 9 because I don't think my part 1 video got this. All right, number 1 is number 9. I'm going to start over on number 9. Make sure I get the right word. So we're simplifying 7i square root of negative 50. So the first thing that I'm seeing is I'm seeing that negative under my square root. I know that's where imaginary numbers come from. So I'm going to think about this as 7i square root of negative 1 times positive 50. And the square root of a negative 1 is going to be our I. It's one of our foundations of imaginary numbers. So I'm going to cross out that negative 1. I'm going to bring out the I. And there's already a 7i on the outside of the radical. So those 2 terms are going to get multiplied together. And then I've got this 50 left under the radical. So I times 7i, remember when you're multiplying variables, you add their exponents. So that's going to give me 7i squared. 50 is not a perfect square, but 25 is the largest perfect square that will divide into 50. So I'm going to break 50 down into 25 times 2. I'm at the bottom of this page and my slate acts really weird when I get to the bottom of the screen. I'm going to go ahead and simplify I squared and put in a negative 1 in its place. I'm also going to go ahead and take the square root of 25, which is 5. So the 5 will come out and it will get multiplied times the 7 and the negative 1. And then the square root of 2 will stay in. So 5 times 7 is 35. 35 times negative 1 is negative 35. And then the 2 stays underneath the square root. I will tell you what a lot of people do is they just totally ignore this negative sign. And they'll end up with 35 square root of 2 instead of negative 35. Or they'll end up with 35i square root of 2 because they don't remember to bring this negative under the square root out as an I. That's usually the most common mistake there. All right, I think I have one more page of examples. In number 10, we're still dealing with some imaginary numbers, and we are multiplying a binomial times a binomial. So you may or may not have been taught this, but when you're multiplying a binomial, which means 2 terms, times another binomial, bi means 2. I know I was taught a method called FOILing, F-O-I-L. If you were not taught that method, then that's perfectly fine. F stands for first. O stands for outside or outer. I stands for inner or inside. And L stands for last. Or you can just distribute. So you're going to take the 2i and you're going to multiply it times 7i. That's your first terms. And then you're going to do your 2i times negative 4. That's your outside terms. And then you're going to do 3 times 7i. That's your inside terms. And then you're going to do 3 times negative 4. So you can think about it as distributing the 2i and then distributing the positive 3, or you can think about it as foiling. It's really all the same thing. All right, 2i times 7i. Remember, when you're multiplying variables, you add their exponents. So that's going to give you 14i squared. 2i times negative 4 is going to give you negative 8i. 3 times 7i is going to give you positive 21i. 3 times negative 4 is going to give you negative 12. I squared is always going to turn into a negative 1. So I'm going to go ahead and sub in a negative 1 for the I squared. 2 i's are like terms, just like 2 x's are like terms. So we can combine the negative 8i and the positive 21i to get positive 13i. And then minus 12 is just minus 12. 14 times negative 1 is going to give me negative 14. Bring down the plus 13i. Bring down the minus 12. I'm just still simplifying here. Negative 14 and negative 12 are like terms. They're going to combine to be negative 26. And then bring down the plus 13i. You might see the answer written like this. Sometimes they really like the I to come first, the I term to come first, and then they call this your constant or your real term to come second. Either one of these would be correct, depending on your directions. If they want it written in what they call standard form or a specific form, they do like the I to lead the answer. They like for it to be first. All right, last one. We're multiplying. I don't see any negatives under my square roots. Whew, no imaginary numbers in this problem. So I'm doing square root of 3 times square root of 4. That's going to give me square root of 12. Square root of 3 times negative square root of 6. That's going to give me negative square root of... Whew, having trouble multiplying today. My brain's got all kinds of things going on. I can't subtract a square root of 18 from a square root of 12 because those are not like terms, and I do have to have like terms when I'm adding and subtracting. But these are not simplified. 12 is not a perfect square, but 4 will go into 12. So I'm going to rewrite 12 as 4 times 3 since 4 is a perfect square. 18 is not a perfect square, but 9 will go into 18, 9 times 2. And let's simplify this out. Square root of 4 is 2. 2 comes out. 3 stays in. Square root of 9 is 3. Bring down your minus. 3 comes out. 2 stays in. First term is a square root of 3. Second term is a square root of 2. So I still can't combine those, but I did have to simplify. Okay, you're probably never going to see this answer, square root of 12 minus square root of 18, because square root of 12 is not simplified under the square root, and neither is square root of 18. All right, so again, your Unit 2 review, it had 12 problems, and I just looked through those 12 problems, and I picked, or I made up, some problems that were similar to the Unit 2 review. These are not the exact problems again, but they are similar. Remember, if you clicked on the whiteboard link, you can download it. It's got all the rules. You can save it. You can use it on your quizzes, your tests, your TGAs. And there is an exit ticket. We're not doing the exit ticket since this is a review, so I'll just end on this slide. So y'all have a great and wonderful Labor Day. Enjoy your day off. Know that I am thinking about you because I know you're going to miss your only Class Connect because we did have a holiday. So I will send this out to you in an email. I will also be sending an email regarding the Unit 2 teacher graded assignment, that part 2. I'll send that out in a separate video, just giving you a little bit of help for that